2022 World Cup host Qatar is mired in scandal. It's under fire following reports of migrant workers on construction projects being abused. The mistreatment has been compared to slavery and has led to dozens of deaths. Well, football's governing body FIFA has expressed concern at the revelations, and the UN agency said Qatar is violating an international ban on the use of forced labour. This, coupled with the prospect of the Qataris switching the World Cup to winter because of the summer heat, has triggered calls to strip the Gulf state of the event altogether. RT spoke to the General Secretary of the International Trade Union Confederation that's leading a campaign against migrant worker abuse.
Qatar is a slave state. That's an extreme thing to say, I know, in the 21st century, but that's the reality. Workers are exploited from the moment they are forced to pay money to recruitment agencies in Nepal or India, Philippines, other Asian or African nations. They sign a contract, they go to Qatar. Often the contract's torn up and they're paid as little as $400 a month. They are, many of them, skilled workers. They are forced to live in squalor. Nobody who's been to those labour camps where you have 8, 10, 12, sometimes more to a room would accept, and certainly no CEO would accept their son or daughter living in those conditions. Then, of course, they are often abused, underpaid. The work is dangerous. More than one worker a day will die in Qatar. And yet, even if they want to leave, they can't leave the country because they're basically the owner, they're owned by the employer who has to sign an exit visa or indeed a transfer of working rights. They're held, their passports are often held against the law. It's appalling. It's appalling. And frankly, it could be fixed. We've offered the government solutions. They have no political will to fix it.
Well, Aidan McCabe from Anti-Slavery International says he hopes the prospect of the World Cup being taken away could force the Qatari government to improve its human rights record.
I suspect the core issue here is racism, that truly the government of Qatar doesn't care about those who are in such appalling situation. And that's at the core of a lot of contemporary slavery issues. I'd just like to say, I don't want to see a boycott. I don't want to see Qatar being stripped of the World Cup. I would like to see the World Cup being used as a mechanism to obtain change in that country. Now that they have the World Cup, the imperative is upon FIFA and indeed upon the rest of the world to insist that this World Cup is not constructed on slavery. And it's relatively straightforward to change that. The system which facilitates forced labour and slavery within Qatar is the legal system of Qatar, particularly in relation to migration and immigration law there. That needs to be fundamentally changed. You're talking about actually some of the best people who Nepal produces, brave, ambitious people for themselves and their families, and yet it's those really admirable human attributes which are the thing which render them vulnerable to this sort of exploitation. So if there's freedom of association of those workers, I think you could see them establishing much better working conditions for themselves. But if Qatar does not introduce that, FIFA should walk away.